Hello and a very warm welcome, Namaskar, to the India Global Education and Skill Summit being hosted from October 27 to 29. And today we are on the day three. It's being hosted by the Government of Telangana, Collegiate Education and Technical Education Department, organized by Indie Global Media Network. Engaging powerful minds and empowering transformation is the idea behind this 3 day mega virtual summit, expo, and awards. In last 2 days, we had speakers, education leaders, policy makers from the space of education and skill, Government of India, All India Council of Technical Education, Ministry of Entrepreneurship, Skill Development, and Ministry of Education have taken parts in last 2 days. Over 100 education leaders from across the country and globe have joined us and would be joining us today as well. And more than 7 countries are representing in this mega virtual summit, and more than 1,500 delegates have participated throughout the 2 days, especially the delegates who are from the education and skill ecosystem, students, faculty, dean, directors, vice chancellors, and various um, staff from the government education sector. So, without a further ado, I would like to call upon today's special guest, who is a pro vice chancellor, a known educationist who has dedicated several years in the space of education, imparting quality education. Please join me, Professor Jaya Sankar Variya, pro vice chancellor, University. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. Th- Thank you, Gautam. Thank you, Gautam.
Thank you for joining us. And so we would like to hear from you uh, on the various culture of innovation, how technology has been adopted, and the innovation and best practices in GITAM deemed university. Over to you,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Thank you, Gautam, for the opportunity. Uh, good morning to all delegates and participants in this August event. I just have a few slides to show you on how our journey at GITAM, what we have done, and where we are likely to go. So I just as you know, GITAM, we have a very major, we have a big ambition of trying to be a globally recognized university by 2040 in the top 100. So it is a challenge because currently there is none from India in the global in the top 100 ranking. So we have embarked on a set of initiatives in the academic area, which I would like to share with you, and I would look forward to receiving your comments. The so I Can you see my screen, please?
Yes,
Hello.
sir. It's coming
Can you
up.
see my
Yes.
screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So the what I'm now showing are the innovations in academics that we have been doing in the last 1 year. So what one big challenge is actually, as you can imagine, in any educational institution, it's the driving the engagement which is the big challenge, and that is not just simply related to the infrastructure alone. So what this there are three components to driving engagement, so that the student is actively participating in the lectures that we deliver, in the information that we share, etc. So the three components, the way I see it, are the student, the teacher, and the content. These are the three pillars that actually drive the engagement. So for that, it obviously requires a relationship between the student and the teacher. The teacher actually brings expertise into the content. So that's where we hire specific faculty who deliver. And the student actually sees the relevance of the content that the faculty has pushed forward. So, because in these days where knowledge is actually available on the fingertips, when you search, it's actually important to curate it and deliver it in a way that the student can appreciate. Only then you will have a meaningful engagement. Now, what do we what do we look at? See, we need to look at the programs of the future. And in the programs of the future, first thing that we need to realize is that there cannot be a reduction in the core content. And we also need to ensure it's not that we are looking at an immediate job. We need to ensure what is the upgrade pathway for the core courses, especially something like computer science, where the change in technology is rapid. How do you make sure that you have the skill requirement for the first job, and also you have the upgrade pathway for the in their courses? So what this we also want to make sure that we believe that a practice oriented curriculum is the best way to achieve it. That is fine. We also believe that a personalized learner journey is important. What this means is I choose my own courses. I build from a student perspective. I choose my courses, choose my own, build my own curriculum, and we use the as the university we use the learning management systems beyond just information delivery. We use analytics that we can derive from the data that's stored in the learning management system to improve learning and also specialize and give a unique learner experience. So the program structure that we have, which is I'm sure similar to many of the other universities, we have a university core which is actually common to all undergraduate level programs offered by GITAM. Then there is a faculty core, which is the area in which the the faculty of science or the faculty of engineering, there are some core areas. For example, in engineering, our thing has always been that you need to have computer programming, you need to have workshop, you need to have engineering drawing. So those components belong to the faculty core. Program core is what actually distinguishes the students. So whether they are a mechanical engineer or a psychologist, or whether they are a management graduate specializing in financial services, etc., that's where the differentiation actually happens. Now, other than that, the students actually prefer, in some ways they want to distinguish themselves. They have their own interests within the areas and also outside the. So if you're a mechanical engineer or a psychologist, you want to study a little bit of music or etc. So for that, we actually give open electives. But within the program, for example, if you're a mechanical engineer, you want to understand a little more of the technology in computer-aided manufacturing, so you take specialized courses in that. Other than that, we also have a series of what are called foundation and skill building, and which are basically mandatory courses. Other than the other big thing we offer for the university, from the university's perspective, we also offer online courses. Online courses meaning the students can actually select courses from. It's also a mandate, government-driven mandate, but we have taken the opportunity to follow the NEP and the government-driven mandate, and we have opened our curriculum so that students can actually take courses from outside of what we actually offer. Obviously, it cannot be a random selection of courses. We do constrain them. So these are some of the changes that we have. Now, academics is not the only part that actually develops a student. You need to really have all-round development. I've shown you a slide where part of it is actually academics, but there are other components. There is the community building. There is also the interactions which you have, which actually enable the students to have team building. You need to also have your physical well-being advanced, so for which you actually look at sports as a venue. Now, what we do is, as I talked to you about the university core, we have fundamentals. We make sure that the language skills are adequate. Other than that, what I call soft skills, which is basically you learn how to present yourself to the external world, engage with the external world, engage with your team members. We have a whole series of courses on that. What we also have is we are not looking at generating, delivering students out in the market who are actually looking for jobs. We want to make them think beyond what is available, and in that case, can they become self-employed, or can they actually become an employer? So these types of skills, many of them students actually, after they graduate and take up a first job, somewhere down the line they realize their passion is not just sitting in an office and engaging in routine tasks, but also try and develop something more. These types of skills we encourage by using the venture development course. Other than that, as I said, the community, we also have a whole series of courses which are pass fail, which is basically, for example, the club activities, which are, where the students mingle across the faculties. So they actually, a computer science major learns to interact with the BBA student, and learns, in some ways, learns their perspective, and hopefully there's some transference of skills both ways, so that they can understand how these types of, how the other function works. So rather than having learning this when you go into the job, the first place, we actually train them on the campus. Community service, we believe, is a big part. We Because we come, I mean, as you know, we are named after Mahatma Gandhi, and we want to make sure those kinds of skills, those kinds of values are also put. There are two. One is community service, and the other is the Gandhian values and ethics. One of the things, two things which we have introduced. One is personal and financial planning, and the other is health and well-being. The importance of personal financial planning, it cannot be emphasized. I would say that this is, when a student graduates and they take up the first job, they need to understand how to actually do their finances, because there is a lot of information that's available in the market. You need to figure out, what is real, what is wrong, how do you file your taxes, etc. So we have introduced a course for that. Health and well-being is something that is critical. We believe that many of the problems that we currently face, because in a sense they are earning, and then they have students who have been on a tight purse, now suddenly realize that they are earning, and then they realize, they can actually have anything they want. So we need to make sure that they actually make the right choices. So for that, we have actually, made sure that before they graduate, they understand what is the impact of many of these choices in their lifestyle, the food habits, etc. IT productivity tools is something that we insist all our students do before they join us. We take it's through an online course. It's mandated, and nearly all our reports, etc., is now submitted online. Why we make that is that because, again, when the students transition from the university to the outside world, it is very difficult, because in the university we insist that they write lab reports in a handwritten. We have handwritten lab reports, observation notebooks. Whereas when you go to the outside world, most of it is actually, in some way or the other, it's driven by some technology, either through your mobile phone or a desktop, etc. We have some mandatory courses which are required by the government of India, and obviously it's important: Indian Constitution and History, and Environmental Studies. Now, another key component that we have is actually, which is required, is the academic advice. Now, what this does is, faculty members have to engage deeply with the students. So this results in the community, because remember that we have said that you can build your own curriculum. We cannot give them just a document and say, now go ahead and build your own curriculum. So we need to communicate the curriculum map. We have to assist the students in selecting the courses, and also suggest a proper schedule for the students. Because when you leave the choice to the students, they can make mistakes, and which can be very crucial, where they find out in their final year that they haven't cleared some mandatory courses as required by the program. So the student, of course, it's only an advice. The students will actually make the final choices when scheduling the classes, and also the changes that they can do. We also have what's called an ad drop period where the students can sample for a week what the course is and then they can drop it. The other area we have introduced, we have actually introduced learning by research. So what this means is that the students actually can choose to work with any faculty member in the university. It need not be within the department, within the faculty. So what this computer science major, for example, can work with somebody. We are fortunate that at least on Visakhapatnam campus, we run from all the way from a medical school to law. So the students can actually choose a faculty member in the medical or law school and do a project on that. So the outcome of the work, qualifies the students towards attaining the credits. So we have different levels. If it's a minor project, we just grade them and the evaluation is done within. But if it's a more detailed work and it's exceptional work where it's published, we actually give the topmost grade, which is over and above the grades that are normally required for earning the for graduation. So we give you, and the student gets an O grade, so which it's a huge benefit because it boosts their GPA. Other than that, we have introduced the concept of minors and double majors and honors. So these are typically 18 to 24 credits. It's decided by the Board of Studies offering the minor. Double major we have started introducing. It could be again within or outside the faculty. Only thing that the student needs to realize is that this requires additional time to be spent on the campus. Honors program, this has been allowed by the NEP for even the arts, sciences, and management courses. So these are typically 3-year programs. So when the student has to earn an honors in GITAM, they have to spend an extra year. For engineering, currently we do not require an additional stay because its honors is defined as a grade point average based on the grade point average. Now, how do we accomplish all this? We are firm believers in blended learning. So what we do is we leverage technology for student engagement, and that basically it's discussion forums that are available within the system. We use a lot of analytics, we use a lot of progress tracking. All this leads to personalized learning. When I say personalized learning, we have and each of these are actually linked to some kind of learning outcome. And we also have active learning content using what are technologies where we actually post questions within the video. We are now doing some innovation in pedagogy. So this is basically one of the problems with students is because their engagement is comparatively low. So we have introduced gamification and badges, credentials. Most of nearly all our assignments are done, and even lab reports, rather than giving them marks, we actually start using rubrics. We have started using rubrics. So based on the rubrics, what happens is the student knows exactly what is the reason why they have scored high or low. And we have also, going forward, we have introduced question banks, which are used both for assessment, formative and summative. We use that so that the student actually learns. So the possibility of a student taking help from their neighbor is actually limited because we integrate a large number of questions into the question bank. Now, all the LMS is of course integrated with other tools like Zoom, Turnitin, etc. I'll come back to this in a minute, and also the virtual programming lab. So the blended learning is actually student-centric. So if you look at it, a lot more social, mobile, most of these are mobile engagement. And as I said, we are looking at tailored assessments by using either guided lessons or question banks. And active learning, meaning that we force in some sense, because the videos are engaged, you need to answer questions based on the video, you have to actually watch the video. So after that, all this actually helps us in making sure that we give the right feel as if they are in a synchronous mode. Now, other than this, we at GITAM have introduced, as I said, the venture development cell. Now, this is through what is called guide, which is to guide the students to on the path of entrepreneurship. The first semester we have what is called the venture development cell 111, which is an integrated course, and then based on that we do, the students are coached, and then we have a program which is basically called Ready Set Go. This is this has been developed in collaboration with Northeastern University, and they do a lot of hands-on projects. Over a period of time, the student actually selects a project, and then they get incubated within the university. And then by the time they graduate, or maybe a year after they graduate, they are set free. So we have a lot of infrastructure. The principles of entrepreneurship is a generalized course which self-paced, and it allows them to understand all the elements of entrepreneurship: finance, accounting, marketing, etc. So it gives breadth to the course. The VDC 111, which is the mandated course for all students, is a structured course which allows them to actually have, discover what's entrepreneurship. So all the elements that are required is actually built in. Now, the last bit, as I've discussed, is the holistic experiential learning through a structured, it's a coaching process. And then finally, hopefully, the business gets launched depending on the ability of the students. We use a large amount of software. It's not restricted. So we use Grammarly basically for making sure our students have the ability to write good English, Turnitin to ensure that students do not plagiarize, and we use Zoom when we were doing our classes, we were using Zoom. We of course use a lot of material from NPTEL and SWAYAM. These are critical for us for engaging when students have to take online courses. Other than that, software support from both G Suite and Microsoft 365. Now, one of the things, we have a partnership with Coursera. We basically engage with them very strongly to ensure strong multidisciplinary learning that will ensure high student interest. Now, remember that I told you about at the start, we need to make sure that they're skilled for their first job, and they also need to be on the path of making sure they keep upgrading themselves. We believe that over a period of time, we will sow the seeds so that the students pick up the other elements that are required from a place like Coursera or UDEX or SWAYAM or NPTEL, and then they will upskill themselves so that they are functional throughout their career. So there are a lot of things we do. We make sure that the students are engaged. Now, what this does is, when the students take these courses, we are able to. This is an example of the analytics which we have. So we know what is the kind of analytics we know how many students have reached the advanced skill levels. This is the map that's given by Coursera. So we use these types of tools to drive the student engagement. So we need the dark portion that you see here is what we would like to to improve on. This is at the start of the semester when we did it. So over a period of time, we hope that the entire thing will be dark blue or dark violet or dark red. So, and below that, we also see the typical types of courses the students are actually engaging on. What is interesting is that the breadth of courses, Coursera offers about 8,000 courses. Students actually take about 5,000 courses. Most of it is actually their own selection. So we have found that once we manage to engage them, they actually go and pick up material. We need to only sow the seeds. They actually go and engage themselves and find courses which are interesting and hopefully more relevant to them. The other thing which is critical, as I told you about, this is the ability of the students we have focused on. The other is actually we need to make sure that the faculty are trained. So we have invested quite a bit with the training partner Harappa. So what we do is we actually have designed the course map. We expect the faculty to design a course, create a course up to the summative level assessment, and at least author one course module in the blended learning format on Moodle, which is our preferred SO. Now, this training program, for example, it has many elements. We focus on why is blended learning important? What is blended learning? Does it mean just simply having one lecture through by video, and are you in blended learning? What are the outcomes? That how do you define the outcomes? We are all aware of Bloom's taxonomy, but smart outcomes, backward planning, how do you make sure you know the outcomes? Then how do you make sure that the students achieve these outcomes? So for that you need to do planning backwards. Assessments is a critical part. Remember, what are the all type different, we need to use different types of assessments. How do we actually design what are called authentic assessments, meaning whether these assessments should probe whether the reason why we have these assessments is basically to make sure that the students have achieved these outcomes. So this is, again, as I said, we use rubrics, we create a very good course plan, and last but not least, because we're using the blended learning format, we expect some of the information to be converted by video. So in the next thing, so we have our own system, we have our own facilities here. So what we do is we give them instructions on how you should create a video script, and we start recording that. So remember that these students are clearly, they are the WhatsApp generation, Twitter, WhatsApp generation. So you need to continuously keep refreshing your memory, refreshing your communication, so that you focus on you need to make sure that you chunk the information. The days where, like the way I have been giving this lecture for 30 minutes, you deliver to the students, these things don't work with these kids. So you need to make sure that your lectures are smaller, capsule driven. You have a very clear outcome, maybe 3 to maximum of 7 minutes on how to deliver. All this, the reason I put this up, we all like to listen to music. There are multiple elements when we listen to music. It's not just the veena or the flute, it is, or the tabla. We have multiple elements which actually give you an enjoyment. Now, for a student, when they go through an academic journey, as I said at the start, all these elements need to be blended together so that we can make sure that they have an outstanding experience. Thank you very much for listening to me. Over to you, Gautam.
Thank you very much, Professor Jayasankar, for taking us through a detailed, and we are glad to know a lot of activities happening in GITAM. And I'm sure, as the vision of the management and the heads of GITAM have, that why not we be in the top 100 universities or institution globally. I'm sure with the visionary leadership and the team, a very strong team in GITAM, I'm sure it's going to happen sooner, and we wish to see the same. And we would like to thank you for sparing time. And as a token of gesture and appreciation, on behalf of the Government of Telangana, Collegiate Education and Technical Education Department, and Indie Global Media Network, we would like to present to you this speaker certificate proudly to Professor Jayasankar E. Warrior, Pro Vice Chancellor Academics, GITAM Deemed University.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.